We now use the acronym PTSD. I translate that. Veterans and troops are glad that we're finally admitting that there's a wound and naming it. And they tend to hate the name PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Has anybody seen the George Carlin comedy bit, it only lasts about 5 minutes, about the name we give to the wound? Look it up on YouTube. It's great. He made a 5-minute routine after the Gulf War when he was enraged at how our troops from the first Gulf War were being ignored and neglected upon homecoming and denied their benefits. And he simply said, I can't do it like he does, but he traced the name from shell shock in World War I, combat fatigue in World War II, PTSD now. And he said, shell shock sounds like it is. It sounds painful. 2 quick, hard syllables. It's an onomatopoeia almost. It sounds like what's going on. And then combat fatigue. Well, that's not shocking. That's just exhausting. And it's more syllables and a more complicated name. Then there was no name until 1980 when PTSD was recognized as a diagnosis, and from shell shock to post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a quasi-scientific, quasi-medical term that veterans hate. Generally, it denigrates and dishonors the wound rather than elevates it and honors it. And, as Carlin said, if we still called it shell shock, people would get their benefits a lot more quickly because we'd admit they were in pain. So we do now have PTSD as an established diagnosis, and it's gotten into both our mental health system, of course, and the culture. And one of the many things we need to respond to it is a complementary concept. If we have PTSD, we really need to have PTG, post-traumatic growth. We need to have that concept. We need to hold that out to our survivors. And we need to have our own understanding that there is a path that goes from disorder to growth, from brokenness to wholeness, from dissolution to transformation, from disintegration to reintegration. And we need to have a model in our minds and our hearts, know there's a path, and offer that to our survivors. We all remember that General Sherman famously said, war is hell. Everybody knows that quote. It's not a metaphor. It's not just a symbol. Combat truly is hell. War is the most complete and horrific version of hell on earth that we human beings create. We have to believe and understand that there is a path, not only that takes troops and anybody in the war zone to hell, that's only half the journey. And this journey is mapped in the spiritual literature and the mythological teachings of the whole world. There's a journey to hell and there's a journey back from hell.
Those journeys into warriorhood and coming back were usually a one-time affair, per se. Now, that's not the case anymore. Now it's repeated journeys. Now, the average person you see or the average person I see, the track record is as follows. It's Iraq, then it's Afghanistan, or it's Katrina, or it's Haiti. So now we're having repeated journeys to hell.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that changes the dynamic a lot with some of this.
We know about trauma that the younger a person is, the more severe the trauma, and the more often trauma happens, the worse PTSD is going to be. When we keep cycling people back on that journey to the underworld over and over and over again, before they have come back, before they've had a chance to heal, and even, as Peter said, once is enough. But if we send people 3, 4, 5 times, we are putting the human personality through far more than we can possibly tolerate. Modern war, with its technology of destruction and with our recycling of those who are serving again and again and again, plunging them into hell, is guaranteed recipe for breakdown. In fact, this is well studied and documented. There's only one personality type, you all know the answer to this one, only one personality type that can go through modern combat experience and come out unchanged. What is it?
Sociopath.
Of course. Why?
They thrive on it.
They like it.
They like it.
Yeah, they like it. They like the instinctual release. They lack the conscience, the moral sensibility that limits the violence, and they do well in highly structured environments that tell them when to behave and when to release. Okay? Everybody else comes back different. So many civilians will say, I don't need to support the troops because they signed up for it. They should have known what they were getting into, and I don't have to do anything. It's what they wanted.
Just go on as if
Yeah.
there's not a war going on.
Right, yes, and that's a recipe as well. And we do remember our previous commander-in-chief told us to go shopping.
Go shopping.
That also is social disorder and a guaranteed recipe for PTSD. When we make a small segment of our population carry the entire burden of service and of combat, and especially combat again and again and again, we keep throwing them back into hell, and it's guaranteed breakdown. So we need to think differently about PTSD. We need to understand how profound it is, that it's not possible to serve in modern military and under modern combat conditions and come back unchanged. And we need to have full conceptions of the warrior's journey away, the profound and horrific wounding that happens when they are away and upon return, and a vision of the warrior's journey back.